Hello, I'm really glad that you're here today. I'm going to be talking about month by month memory keeping. I'm Katie. I'm known as Katie the Creative Lady online, and I'm a memory keeper, which means I love being able to document my memories and share them with others. This ranges from everything from hanging up photos in our home to creating scrapbook pages or doing online journaling through my blog and other social media channels. Those are all forms of memory keeping. I am a digital designer and I love to create beautiful supplies to be able to do all of these forms of memory keeping so that I can share my memories in a beautiful way, and I hope that others will be able to do so as well. I am online at katiethecreativelady.com. It's where my headquarters are, and you can find the links to everything I talk about there. I will also put a link in the comments section. I send out a regular newsletter, a couple of issues each month, and there's a free download with every issue, so be sure to sign up because you can get some really fun goodies that way. I'm on social media on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, and of course here on YouTube. The links to all of those places are on my website or down in the comments. Today I'm going to be talking about the focus of month by month memory keeping, and this is probably my biggest secret for how I am able to present our memories in a way that is fun for our family to review and to enjoy. And it also makes it very easy for me because it can be overwhelming. It can be overwhelming to try and keep up, which that you have to not worry so much about keeping up. But it can be overwhelming to keep up and to also go back on past memories. So I'm going to share this approach with you, and I hope that you'll find it as useful as I do. So why the focus on months? Well, months are a clearly defined block of time. They have a clear beginning and an end. They are in a manageable chunk of time. You're talking anywhere from 28 to 31 days. And that's really how our world is organized anyway. If you think about calendars and appointments and events and holidays, we have a very big focus on months. And to me, these are natural breaking off points to focus on what has happened during that period of time. It's very manageable. It's a lot easier to think of tackling the photos and the memories from 1 month than looking at an entire year. Now, I still, of course, look at years when I am memory keeping, but that will be a different tutorial someday. This one I think you will really enjoy because it's just so manageable. And the nice thing is the month can actually act as your theme. So a lot of times when people are scrapbooking, they feel like, well, I have to have enough photos of somebody opening gifts and blowing out candles to have a birthday page, or I have to have enough photos of the dog to do a dog page. Well, you can add all of those things together in the framework of a month page and just talk about the memories during that month. That can become your theme. Of course, you can still add in others as well as you get doing that. And I'll talk about that a little bit later on. The format that I came up with back in 2006 is called a monthly roundup. I came up with this idea because I was thinking about when I used to work in customer service in the 90s, and this was before we had a lot of the great technology we have now. But at the end of the month in the company, we were supposed to kind of gather all of the numbers, all the sales numbers, all the order numbers, and this was really kind of in my mind rounding things up, getting everything ready to end the month and begin the new one. Well, as I started thinking about it, I thought this really applies to documenting life as well. It's so easy to think you're going to remember, as you think, I don't need to write it down, I'm going to remember, but you forget. Even if you try to think about everything you did 2 or 3 months ago, it would be difficult unless you're looking at a calendar or you have some sort of reminders right in front of you, unless they were really, really big events. Like obviously, you can remember that Christmas was in December, but are you going to remember all the other little details? So I made a practice of having a list of prompts and writing down those things each month. And I have been doing this every month since January of 2006. This is my biggest secret weapon in my scrapbooking arsenal, and it has really helped me document our family's life in a very meaningful and fun way and very manageable. So I want to share this with you and hope that it can help you as well. So there are prompt lists, and I'm going to go over those. And this is, what I call my roundup. And I always share my own roundup when we get into the new month. So if it's January, I will post the monthly reminders and the prompts. And then I would share my January page, usually around the first week of February, depending on how busy I get in putting it together. But I put mine together as a scrapbook page. You don't have to do that, and we'll talk about that. I have support materials for you on my website. There's even a couple of free downloads in my shop, but I have designs that work really well for month by month memory keeping as well. And I am going to be using the hashtag #DocumentYourMonth on Instagram. If you search by that hashtag, you'll already see a lot of my older posts. And, somebody may end up using that hashtag here or there, and you may see a few other things, but it's been able to pretty much apply to what I'm doing here. And I'd love for you to use that hashtag if you'd like to share any of your roundups or monthly pages. All right, what I'm going to do starting this year, this is new, and this is something that I have heard as feedback from my community, is that it would be great to have a reminder post before the end of the month. It's funny how it kind of sneaks up on you and you start, realizing, oh my gosh, the month is over tomorrow. So we're going to do a reminder post about a week before the end of the month. And I'll post an image like this and let you know, hey, getting close. Time to start thinking about it. And what's nice about that is, like, if you haven't really taken any pictures during the month or really been thinking about recording your memories, you still have a little time to do that. I admit that happens to me too, especially in slower times of the year. It's also a good time to just look over your calendar and start sorting through things if you have a chance. Then on the last day of the month, I will post the roundup prompts, tips, and ideas. And I'm expanding this a little bit from now on to include more than I used to. So I will share an image similar to this, and you'll know that this is the time to start your roundup. And I have used basically this same set of prompts for a long time. I always change it around a little bit from year to year, trying to, make it just perfectly tailored for remembering everything. And I, again, asked for feedback from the community and got a few ideas to add to this. But you also can add your own ideas, and you don't have to use all of the prompts. You can pick the ones that work for you. And it's okay if you want to focus on different ones each time. Like sometimes, the weather is a big part of the story during the month, and you'll want to focus on that. Other times that may not even be part of your story at all. So just going over what they are, it's talking about, here's your prompts to remember what holidays and celebrations, special occasions, and big events did you have this month. Tackle the big ones first. Was it Christmas? Was there a birthday? Is there a special anniversary? Those are the big things to touch on. And then I really like to think about at least adding some sort of information about each individual in our family or our family as a whole, some sort of update, because you're going to want to know that as you look back on past events, past months. Was there any progress in school or work or on personal projects? A lot of people love to keep track of the books they're reading, the shows they're watching, things they're listening to. These have become a big part of my roundups because I love having that slice of life included there. Is so interesting. The way we have so much media now that we can consume, and it's really a fun cultural thing to share as well. I do like to keep track of the news and include some big events in our books, and that can be, up to you how you want to do it. Some people don't want to put a lot of the world news in. Some people really like a lot. I love to have some as a backdrop for what was going on in the world. And, it's a kind of up to you how much detail you want to go into. Lots of other ideas, like what were the joys of the month, the challenges? Did you go somewhere and have any big adventures? Your health, what happened with health and medical? Are there goals that you worked on or hobbies? What did you play? Like, were there games? Did your children do fun things? The weather, favorite finds, foods you ate. I even screenshot memes throughout the month and sometimes use those as well. Lots of ideas. And this is a list that I consistently use month after month. And when you look at this prompt list, I hope it will help you think of the things that you want to document. And it's just a great way to record everyday life. Now, the new thing I'm going to start doing is sharing some different tips and ideas each month. And this will rotate so that there's so many things that you can do to make your roundups fun. And I realize that I have these wonderful tips that I rely on, but you might not always know what they are. So I'm going to try and share 3 of them each month to give you some different approaches to take. Again, pick and choose as you like. But my tips this time are to use screenshots. I love to take screenshots from my weather app to illustrate the weather patterns during the month. Like if we have a day that's really hot or really cold, or sometimes we have really bad air quality, something interesting, I'll just screenshot that and I can use it right there on a layout. Copy and paste is your friend. Don't worry about having to remember all this stuff and write it all down. If you see a big news headline when you're reading a story, just copy and paste it into a note or a document, and then you can use that when you go to do your roundup. This one is something that I'm going to make sure I do, is to set an alarm to remind myself to take pictures. I used to take pictures every day, and as my kids have grown and life has settled down a lot during the pandemic, I have to admit I'm not taking daily pictures, and a lot of times I'm just forgetting about that. So I want to set an alarm to remind myself to take pictures. There are a lot of ways to do a roundup. So if you're not a scrapbooker, you could still be a memory keeper. And that might seem unusual, but it's really not in today's world of social media, because a lot of people are documenting their lives through their social media channels. They're including updates about their kids on Facebook. They're sharing their memories on Instagram, and those can be like a journal. Now, I would encourage you to do something a little more with them, because most likely someday your family's not going to sit around and fire up all your accounts and look through them. They would love to have them in a book or something tangible to see. But that is up to you, and there's no wrong way to do that. I just think it's great if you're doing some sort of documenting. If you do just keep a journal or a blog or social media, just make sure you keep backups of those things so that you don't lose them, especially for online sources. And you can even do something as simple as copy and paste into a Word document to save. One of my favorite ways to do a roundup is to create a collage of photos from the month or a scrapbook page. For me, when you add words to that, it just becomes wonderful. That's when the memory becomes full for me. It's great to have those photos, but it's really nice to have the explanation behind them. For me, I love to do a spread per month. Sometimes I'll just do 1 page per month, but a spread means 2 pages that would be next to each other in a book. And that can be your entire album. You can just have a page or 2 or 3 or 4 for each month, and you could print that as an album. Or if you have a lot of other events, you could have that as your framework, and then you add in other pages, like if you do some great traveling, or you want to highlight maybe each member of the family with their own page, or you want to document holidays like Halloween. Those things can all be added in too. For me, this has been the best way to get albums actually done, is to be able to focus on this month by month approach and then add in where I want to. All right, the first thing you're going to do when you go to do a roundup is you're going to start with your photos. At least this is how I do it. And to me, it's really important to do this because those are the illustrations for our story. So if you have a phone, usually if that takes photos, usually there's a search bar in the photos part. And I know I use an iPhone. I'm not familiar with other phones, but I'm sure they work similar in that you can enter in some dates and you will get those pictures from that date. You can also do this in online photo storage and through different computer organization systems for digital photos. That's the beauty of digital photos. It's a little harder back in the day when we were printing our photos. But back then, I used to organize them by year and month in a file folder. So there's different ways to do it. But in this case, I put in the search term August 2021 and saw all the photos from that month. Now, if you have photos in other places, search for those. If you do photo editing on your computer and that's where you want to pull from, if you have online photo backup, or you have, say you're keeping paper memorabilia through the month like ticket stubs and programs, have a file to keep those in. An accordion file with a month for each year is a great system, or if you have a drawer or some sort of other system, but month by month filing really helps. If somebody else took the photos that you want to use, be sure to ask them for copies. That happens a lot when you get together with family and friends, is one person will take the photo. Make sure you get those photos and that you can use those as well. All right, so I had a lot of photos from August because we took 2 trips. I just went through and decided to pick the ones that I thought would be kind of good representations of our month. Now, I'm not going to end up using all of these, and that's okay. I'll talk about that. But I chose different favorite photos, different photos that I thought really represented everyday life, like how interesting to have a wash day now for masks, and they were drying over the edge of my tub. This was from some plays that we went to for the Utah Shakespeare Festival. A little meme I saved because we had really bad air quality because of all the wildfires. And just different images. Here's another one about the air quality. So that, to me, I'm going to have that as part of my story during the month. Some other random things like some snacks, my reading on my iPad, playing games with my son, different dashboards that I copied to keep track of COVID. So lots of just random memories. And that's the great thing about month by month scrapbooking, is they don't have to all match and be perfect together. You can put these photos together under the theme of the month. All right, now this is just a sample calendar. I'm not showing you my real calendar from August because it's got a lot of things on it. But say you look back over your calendar for that month, and the great thing is when you start doing roundups, you realize, hey, if I just enter in a little more detail on my calendar, then it'll make it really easy for me for my memory keeping. Like instead of writing movie night, maybe you write what you watched. We watched Iron Man. This WandaVision marathon, this actually did happen. if I would have put with Kathy, who's my mom, or with Kathy and Alex, Alex is my son, that's who watched that marathon. So sometimes if you add a few more details, that can make it a lot easier on you at the end. The dentist appointment, 2 p.m., it would have been great if I would have put that was for me. So I'm just showing you some different approaches. Online class, what was the online class? Who went to it? So add different details. Someday we'll think it's pretty interesting that we can see when we started doing things like Zoom calls. I love looking back at these little details. All right, then you're going to, once you've looked through those, once you've picked your photos and you've looked through your calendar, look through the prompts. Think about which ones do you want to focus on? What's inspiring you? Does that help you remember what you want to go back and check? Like books you read? For me, I can look through my Kindle app history and see that very easily. Maybe it's a pile of books on your nightstand that you're going to check. Maybe you keep track in a journal. I use Goodreads, the website, to keep track of what I'm reading. I love that. And what you watched. Now you can look through your history on a lot of the streaming services, which is nice. Think about what you watched. Talk about it with those who you watch shows with. I could ask my husband, okay, well, so I know what we watched, for a few times. What else do you remember? So there's different ways to gather information, but this prompt list will hopefully help, spur some of those memories and help you remember what you want to include. And then think about what format are you going to use. Are you going to take a few prompts and write about them in a journal or a blog? Or are you going to add some social media posts? Are you going to add photos to those? Just think about what you want to do with that. Are you going to do a collage or a scrapbook page? Will it be paper or digital? Are you going to use a template? What supplies will you use? And then, how many photos do you want to include? Do you think that's going to be on one page or two or more? How many stories do you have to tell for the month? Maybe not much happened. Maybe a lot happened. Those are the things to think about as you get started. So I'm going to show you some of the supplies that I'm using. These are supplies that I've designed. They are brand new in my shop, and I will continue to add to this collection because I'm really excited about it, and I've already created so much with it. So this is the Monthly Memories collection. And what it is it's a bunch of kind of core basic items that you have your solid papers, your blank cards, some good templates that work with everything, and some cards that work with all the prompts, general journaling cards, and then I'm adding fun little additions throughout the year especially, but to give you some decorative things to add to your pages too. One of my favorite things I've designed, and they took me forever, were these word papers, and you'll see them as I get using them. But it's a fun way to illustrate the theme of documenting by the month. There's some little monthly saying cards. There's different approaches. Some people love to record by date. There might be a date where something really special happened. On the 31st, here's a date of the month card. I have weeks of the month cards. Lots of different approaches on this. So I am going to use a template because I love templates. The reason I started designing them is because I had a lot of requests from people saying, I really love your pages. Would you make templates? And the nice thing is a template is kind of a cheat sheet for you where you already have my shadowing and my spacing, and I've done all the measuring and designing for you. So I've created this set, and I'm going to use this for creating this page that I'm going to show you. And the nice thing is that they're single page templates and also double page. Some people like to create as double pages that's just easier for them, or they like to upload them that way to a photo book company. So no wrong or right way, just kind of a preference. Even if you just use single pages, look at my double page layouts because you'll get some different ideas on how to mix and match the templates. Then I'm going to choose a few supplies to go with what I want to do. I have got my photos, I've got my ideas, I've got my template, and I want to add some fun to it. So I usually start with the papers because that's a bigger choice for me than the little details. So what's going to be kind of the framing for my layout? And here you can get a good look at what my wordy papers look like. There are 4 color choices for each month. And so it gives you lots of options. You can even use this year after year and get different looks. I am scrapbooking August, so obviously I'm going to use an August paper. And I almost always end up using a solid paper somewhere on my layouts. And then these little wordy papers were fun. I decided to take words that were associated with each month and create a paper for them. And again, there's 4 different color choices for each month. There's a white that has a touch of color on the month word. And then there's the different colors. And they coordinate with the other pack and with all the solids. It all is kind of a mix and match system. Okay, here are my photos. For me, this is the start. This is really where I begin to create my page. And I know that I want to use quite a few of these. So I'm going to pick this template because it's got several photo spaces and space for journaling cards and some decorative paper. I start by filling in my photos first. For me, that's always the highlight. And so I chose these different photos from my file, and they kind of go around a little bit of the weather and the climate and atmosphere of the month. And so I like that. It doesn't have to be that they all go together. There's just sort of some random photos from my yard and a cute little stuffed plush. Then I add in the papers, and I used a solid paper there, the little wordy month paper there, and the big words as my border. So I feel like I have some great color and decoration there, but it doesn't take away from my story. I'm going to use some journaling cards to document what happened during the month. And I am going to use a little Hello August card. All of my cards I design in both 3x4 and 6x4 sizes, so you have a lot of flexibility. Some people love to really have the horizontal look on their pages. Some people only, take horizontal photos and they want the cards to go with them. I love a mix and match approach. I use both sizes all the time. So some people just use the 3x4s. I always want to make sure I provide what you need. And I'm also going to use some of these memories made cards. Now, there are 52 different cards. They're not all pictured here, but they go along with what the prompts are for the month, and they give you different options. Like you may want to say, here are the things I created during the month, or here are the things that I cooked, or maybe you want to say, well, I'm currently celebrating this, or I'm currently cooking this. So I've given you a couple different options on some of the words, but lots of different ideas here. And these blank cards come in handy because if you look at these card packs that I've created, they come as white cards like this, but they also come as digital stamps with a clear background. So you can layer them over any card or background you want. And I love that flexibility. That means that you can use these so many times and get so many different looks. So I'm going to use some blank cards as well. And again, these come in the 3x4 and the 6x4 in all these colors that go with this collection. So I've added my journaling cards and added the journaling to them. So here's a little Hello August, and I talk about some of the things that we did, and I took that stamp from the Memories Made set and I layered it over a blank blue card and wrote about how the weather was part of our story that month. And so I love the journaling. The journaling to me makes such a difference. If you had just seen this page with the August words and the photos, you would have gotten the gist, but this brings so much more to life. You really start to understand what this month meant and what experiences we had. So you can decide what's next for you from there. Are you going to have one and done? You know, if you fit your month recap or all that you wanted to talk about from that month on that page, it's okay. You can be done. And, you know, if you wanted to, on the opposite page, it could be your roundup from the next month, or it could just be a bunch of photos or a big photo from the month that you liked. You can also continue on your roundup, your recap, onto the next page, which is what I did. And even sometimes if I don't continue my roundup on the next page and I just include pictures from something that happened that month, I still like to kind of keep my design somewhat coordinated because I just love that 2-page spread look. I'm going to use this template for the opposing page, and it's from that same pack. And I want to use a different journaling card on this one. And so I'm going to use one of the this month cards so I have more room to document what happened. Now you can see my page. I used the same papers to kind of give some continuity to the next one. I also used a card from that Memories Made, and I just had some random things I wanted to talk about. None of these really needed to fill an entire card. So that's where it's great to use a card that says favorites or moments or milestones, and you can just include a few things there, and they sort of explain the photos around. Now, I used that meme that I had saved. Often those are not high quality photos, but if you use it on a little space like this, you're going to be fine. It will print up just fine. I just wouldn't use it as a great big picture. And then I really told the story of the month. I talked about what was happening in the US and locally with COVID. I talked about the things that we watched and some of the news that happened that month, and also documented, you know, this is going to be an interesting scene to see someday. So that kind of finishes off my roundup. I feel like I really talked about what happened in August, and I'm okay leaving it at that. Now, I had other things happen in August. We had a big trip, and so I'm going to, behind these pages, I'm going to have a few pages about our trip. And then, you know, you'll see my September roundup after that. So that's the framework I use, and I love it, and it's simple, and it's really easy. Now you can see what the 2 pages look like together and why I love spreads so much, because that's just a big visual story of what August meant to us. Now, what if you didn't use all your photos and you really wanted to? That happens all the time. And that's okay, because you can use them in other layouts for that month, or you can, like I said, you can just do a collage of the month, or you could save them for theme or year in review pages. And I do that, and I'm going to make tutorials about that as well. But say like this cute picture of my daughter's dog. Well, I'm going to have a lot more pictures of that dog, and I will probably just do a page about her. I think that would be cute. Or say at the end of the year, I just want to do a big collage of a bunch of photos from the year. I could use that there. Now, what if, like I said, I needed to talk a lot more about the month? What if there were really big events that happened in our family? Well, you don't have to have a roundup done on only 1 or 2 pages. You can have several pages, and that's just fine. What if, this is the question I get a lot, is I can't remember everything. Sorry, you might hear a noise in the background. I have automatic closing blinds. How cool is that? And they just kicked in. I forgot they were going to do that. But if you can't remember everything, just do the best you can. And you're going to get better at this, especially as you get the habit. So ask for help, use Google, look back through your social media posts. If you're posting a lot during the month, it's going to be pretty easy for you to do your roundup because you can see what has been happening. You can also, if there's a friend of yours who does a really good job of documenting the news, look back through some of their posts. There are lots of different ways to do this. And again, you will get better at it and you will have more details on your calendar the more you do this. And some months you just may not remember as much. Some people, and I've had some of my readers comment on this, that they still keep a weekly journal or a daily list, and then they just look back on that when they go to do their roundup. I think it's really important to print and enjoy and share your roundups. It's a lot more fun if you can share them with others, especially those who made the memories with you. And so if you do share online and you post to Instagram, I hope you'll use the hashtag #documentyourmonth so I can see what you did. You don't have to. It's okay to keep them private as well. Then just a little note about that. Sometimes if you have a really private detail, be careful about posting that online. You'll see from time to time when I post a page, some of my journaling will just say personal note here, and then I'll go back and change it for our files before I print it. But just be careful. Don't put anything like your address or really personal information on something that you're sharing online. I hope you'll tell a friend about my channel or my website or my newsletter. It's always great to share with others, and it helps me be able to reach more people and help them. So I really appreciate you being here. Be sure to like and subscribe to my channel too. And thank you for being a part of this community, and I will see you soon.